All right, my friends. So in the past 2 weeks, I've had two questions. One from somebody in the trading group who asked, should I pull all my money out of the bank and put it into crypto? And her concern is about the monetary system. Things are collapsing. Currencies are devaluing. You see these YouTube videos about what would happen if there was a run on the banks and maybe you won't be able to get your money out. And then I had another question about my thoughts on whether I should just take all my money out of crypto. And so both these questions are coming from the same source. Informed people not understanding financial systems and then listening to, like, if you go through YouTube, there's all these people who seem like they're experts or they're influencers, but they know dick about the economy. They know dick about a chart, and they're unexperienced. They couldn't tell you what happened with the DXY this week, with the pound, or any of it. So those people sometimes are well intended, but they really aren't reliable. So I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I like those videos. I think they serve a purpose, but I would never take anything about what they say seriously, because genuinely those people don't know anything. So I'm just going to review the past, this cycle that we're in that started on November 21st with the market highs, okay? And so right around here is where I started to become concerned. At this point, I was probably making $600 to $1,000 just a week, just hanging out in this zone, okay? When we hit this candle here, I sold everything. I had a line that said sell everything, and it was a Monday. And within 15 minutes, I liquidated my entire account. Because leading into this, I understood, one, you had the crypto tax come in, but I could see what was happening with the market. And so this is when everybody was calling for the 100,000 Bitcoin, and people like BitBoy, he knows dick. At that point, he was saying, throw out the charts, Bitcoin's going to 100,000. You had all these influencers. And the same thing happens. You have these influencers who are talking about the collapse of the monetary system. And there's this idea that it's going to happen overnight, which is so misguided and nothing to be afraid of, because you're already in the collapse. It's already happening. It's not a straight line up and down. That's not how financials work. There's always going to be an up and down. So we had this time period from here to about January 23rd. This is when the market started to have its first initial wave of fear going into December. And we had this area in December where these concerns on the market topping and some other things that were happening at the time came into play. We had the December Christmas rally. This is where the MSNBC people said, hey, don't worry about it. It's going to bounce and continue higher. Anyone who understood the basic economics at the time knew that wasn't going to happen. And so what Bitcoin did is this move down, down, down. And then we had the period from around January to May. This was a good trading zone, around like 31,000, 33,000 here with these lows to 44. At this point, based on what I saw and what a lot of traders saw, is there was still a pretty good chance coming into May, because we didn't have the data from the Fed on inflation like we do now. We didn't have talk of recession at the time. So this time period, in the spring, there was concern, but no one was talking about recession. And at this time, no one was talking about inflation. So that's really important to understand. We had the downturn, which was a correction. And then we had this period of consolidation where people really didn't know. And no one was talking about inflation or recession, at least in a real economic sense, not in a market sense. In the world conversation, sure, but not in the market. So at that point, we could have had, and it was a viable option. It was possible that Bitcoin could come into the summer months and make a new higher high before a very long, prolonged correction moving into a recession. That would not have been out of the question because we didn't have all the data. Clearly that didn't happen, and so the phase we're in now, starting from June to current, is this long consolidation, but during the summertime, traders have gotten a lot of data. For example, if you go over to the oil chart here, on this candle here was the first day I called for early recession. And the reason I knew that was because we had a 10% down day on oil when oil should have been coming into peak demand. And at that time, I don't know if I was making videos, but in the trading group, I said that we will be coming, you will hear within the next 2 weeks, talks of recession. And that talk of recession is going to create fear in the market. And I knew that from this oil candle. And the reason I knew that is because oil at this time of year should have moved in the other direction. What this told me was that people had stopped driving. There was what they call demand destruction. So oil should have been going here. People are on vacation, traveling. And what I learned during that candle at this time, that hadn't happened. And that the futures contracts were pricing in a lower price in June coming into what should have been peak oil. So that was my first indicator that we were heading into a talks of recession, but obviously not confirmed, which created the downtrend, okay, that you're in here. So this candle here, this area here, the Bitcoin is kind of deciding which way it's going to go, and you can see it comes down into these lows. You see this zone here, this 32 to 29, that's a very key level. Okay, anybody who trades Bitcoin knows that. And so we came into this key level, and you can see, you know, I have been doing this a long time, so, and following these markets, very news-driven, data-driven, and understanding and watching for a long time. And so I know that this was a very key level, this 32,000. That's approximate. I've charts that are a lot more exact. I'm just trying to give you a rough idea. But we had the recession fears start. Okay, and the recession fears were right around here. So this period of time was very important for Bitcoin because this is when midsummer we started to have this, the oil prices were high, but yet they had come down. So the conversation for the common person became about gas prices. But actually, according to demand destruction, they had started to already come down. So we had this 32, this 28 to 32 range. At that point, you still have the possibility of a bounce, a pretty sizable bounce out of Bitcoin. Maybe to here, maybe if things really turned around, you could have gotten to 52. Very unlikely, but somewhere around here, 45 was not out of the question at that point. And the reason was we didn't have inflation data. So this is the period of time where people were talking about gas going up, gas going up, gas going up. Gas went up. Now look how, follow along with what I'm saying. May, you remember, everybody was talking about gas, 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 gas. Guess what happened? The price of gas, because everybody was talking about how expensive it was, and because it was, on this day in June, gas prices for the futures contract, which is a month out, plummeted. That told me recession talks were coming into the picture. Okay, so that's this period of time here. Once the recession talks kicked in, follow along, everybody's talking about gas here. Now, the recession actually statistically hit the market, or at least the pain hit the market. Technically, it's not a recession, but this was our first early indicator, because on this day, that's when everyone in the market started talking recession. And we knew that, and I knew that again, by looking at this candle on June 17th, I knew that was incoming, right? So, and as you can see, Bitcoin sold off prior to that, June 10th. It's a risk-on asset, so when people got sketchy about the economy, naturally it's going to dip down. So this is a macro overview. All right, just to show you where Bitcoin's at, because it's the idea, should I sell or get out of crypto? Okay, so we have this downtrend, consolidation, bad news, recession. At this point, we could have bounced, but now we had recession talks, which leads us to where we are now. So in this time period, from June to now, while everybody's out doing their gardening and summer stuff, what has been going on in the markets are these conversations about interest rates, FOMC meetings, CPI data, and it's all what they call data driven. So the Fed comes out and they say, we're going to raise rates based on the what the CPI data is reporting. And they do that month to month, whereas in the past they would give guidance. And so the market would rally or decline on that guidance. So over here, what you see is that, and this is important, so I have to switch my chart here. So let's go up to the SPY, and I'll show you on the SPY why this is important. Why right now is important. So should I get out of crypto? Okay. Why right now is so important? Okay. This line here at 380.04 on the S&P, which is the SPY, this marks a bear versus bull market. A bull market is this. Okay. This is a bull market. Everything's going up. Okay. A bear market is when you break below a certain percentage, this 20% down. This marks whether you're trading in a bear or bull market. Now, not until this week did we have the data from the Fed. The Fed just came out Wednesday with their FOMC. And so if you go back and watch the videos from the earlier last week, what I said was, because based on the current trends, the market actually after FOMC heads up. And so the expectation this week out of the market was that we would see a move to the critical target here and perhaps sell off from there. And if you go watch the videos, what I had talked about was, if it is a data-driven move, meaning there's no news catalyst, meaning it's just business as normal, the Fed comes out, the Fed reports the numbers, the market prices it in, and life continues on. Okay, so this was a real critical zone. In the same videos I said, if there's a news-driven catalyst, i.e., and at the time I said, like the war in Ukraine escalates, then you will see a move like this. Okay, you can go watch the video if you don't believe me, because I just said it last week. Now, the reason why is because news-driven catalysts cannot be calculated in by the market, right? The market can calculate in the data-driven move. right? They have the inflation numbers. They can calculate what's going to happen, what things will be worth. But with a variable like war, you don't know what Putin's going to do. And so on Monday, I did a video that said Russia is going to mobilize. They did. Tuesday morning, the market did not react. Wednesday, the market didn't react. Fed Pal came out Friday. The market started to react here. And then Fed Pal had a meeting. And my belief is that the market started to look at this Ukraine-Russia thing and saying, we don't know what's going to go on. We hate uncertainty. And so it's time to sell. So where that leaves you today is that technically you're trading in a bear market, okay? Which means a prolonged downtrend, which could last. The shortest cycle would be, we might have to stretch it out a little bit. I might not be able to do it here. To next summer, just to give you an approximate. So trading downwards and not making a new high. So the critical concept here is, and pay attention, I know it's going long, but I want you to understand, the critical concept here is that bear versus bull market. So what I was doing with trading was very risk off. I wasn't heavy into any positions because there was the possibility, even though the kind of worried well people about the economy, they think everything's just going to sell off overnight. But a trader knows, and these people know, that as long as we are above these levels, and until this week, until we broke this line, there was a very strong possibility that we at least retest, meaning that the price of the market at least continues back one more time to this 428. Because you don't see these dump patterns unless it's a news-driven catalyst. So it would have had to be data-driven. If it was data-driven, we would have continued higher, and you could have maintained a bull market going into 2023, which would have brought Bitcoin up. So just following along, understanding what I'm saying, we had a news catalyst which forced the market down this week. Here's on what is crypto going to do next and what I've been waiting for. So because I am who I am, I'm very patient, like with the gardening, right? I love gardening. So this is my Bitcoin chart. This is where I sold everything. And so I've nailed all of this. And the thing to understand about right now is that the S&P, this may be the very first week of an actual bear market. There's people that use that word that don't really understand what it means. Okay? And you probably have heard people throw around these ideas that everything's going to go to shit really quick, but it's not going to. Most likely, this here bounces up to this line. If it breaks above this line, it has another chance of going higher. So that's what I mean by risk. So I watch my risk tolerance on my shorts and I pay attention there. But now, this week is the first time that I feel we have a confirmation that we will be trading in a bear market either Monday and we don't move higher. That's a very strong possibility. And or within the next, let's say, by November. So even if we return to these highs, follow along, track with me. Even if we come back up to these highs over November, because even though it seems like the world's ending, you can't underestimate greed. And these stocks can be bought and sold, and there's all kinds of things that go on that common people don't understand. So you can get this move here, okay? You could even have it come back up to this double top, but the length of time between here and trading in the bear market is compressed now. So it's pretty safe to say that over the next month or two, you'll actually start trading in the bear market. So what do we do with Bitcoin? Bitcoin started in a bull market cycle. So Bitcoin only started, I have a whole nother chart of this. Might as well take the time. I'm only going to do this once, I think. Once in my life I will explain this. So Bitcoin only began trading in a bull market, right? So the S&P historically, since it started, and this is the entire S&P, okay, going, and I've charted it all. So going all the way back to, and there's bigger, longer charts, but this one going back to 1993, and it has, this was the inception of Bitcoin, was right here. Or wait, I know I have it marked. I should say October. Anyway, maybe it's October 09. So Bitcoin, now I want you to pay attention to this core concept here. So this is the birth of Bitcoin. Okay, pay attention, core concept. Bitcoin was born, you see? Bitcoin was born. Now what happens to the market during Bitcoin's born? What happens? Right, you should be saying to yourself, the stock market's moving up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So Bitcoin has been nurtured in this environment where the stock market has been moving up and up and up and up. This is called a bull market. Okay, a bear market is where things continue down, right? So let me remove some of these lines. So a bear market is where it starts coming down, but it can't make it back up. It gets rejected and comes down, can't make it back up, comes down, can't make it back up, comes down, and finally it settles in, things start to come back to life. Do you see my point? Okay, so a bear market. Now, what did I just say? I said that you would be in the first week of a bear market. Look at the chart. This is where you're at. This is my long-term fib chart that I don't ever use, but look at where you're at. When I have a line like this, that's an important line. And look at where you're at. When this line breaks down, if you can't get back above it, you're trading in a bear market, which means, what am I doing? I am shorting the first wave of the bear market. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, if you don't know what a short means, it means that you can, for a real simple explanation, you make money on the red bars. So people ask me about crypto and they're like, well, I tell them I trade crypto, I'm out there watering my plants. And they're like, man, you must be getting wrecked. So the red bar is selling and coming down. So I make money when it's red. I also make money when it's green, but something that I've really specialized in is making the money when it's red, because I'm different that way. I don't know why. God made me different. It's just the way I am. So now follow along, really track with what I'm saying. I'm going to repeat myself to kind of sum this up. The SPY has been in this bull run. That's most of what people have known in America, going way back, even way back. You see? Bull market. Okay? That's what all the crypto people are used to, is a bull market. And so they're getting scared now because they don't understand how to short. But what we can do is we short. So just like this went up, that's called taking a long trade. You can short, and this same measured move down here, you'll make the money on the downside. That's what a short is. Okay, so we're coming into, even if the SPY moves up here, the S&P comes back up to here, we'd be moving into a time before we enter a bear market. That's what was confirmed this week. Now, does it come back up to 406? It could, right? It could. This possibility of it coming up to 406 and then breaking down lower one last time, very much on the table. But this is the first week where you actually have a confirmation from the Fed, because the Fed came out on Wednesday and they said even if there's a recession, the market waits for what they call the pivot. When are they going to cut rates? Well, the Fed came out and they said even if there's a recession, we may not pivot. They say it in a different language, but basically that's what they meant. Okay, and so the length and depth of the recession is going to be much deeper and longer than a lot of people hope for. So that's the theory. And so I've been waiting on this trade that I'm making, that I'm ready to get into. I've been waiting on this probably around here. I started to think about what in March, April, May, I really thought about it. And by the end of May, I was sure that we were heading towards some real downside. In June, I had the confirmation on oil. I knew we were heading towards a recession. And now I'm just waiting for the stats to play out. And I'm waiting for the trade to come to me, because there's going to come an opportunity with Bitcoin where, and this is why it's like gardening. It's like a crop, right? You got to be very patient with how you plant your seeds and how you do things, or else you will lose your seeds. And so the idea that I have, this is where I enter my shorts when Bitcoin touches here. But it is likely that because we are entering into a bear market, that Bitcoin is not going to suddenly bounce. And all of a sudden now I've got confirmation, because if I take out a short and Bitcoin goes long on me, then I'm losing money. So I need the confirmation that Bitcoin's not going to suddenly just rip. Even back here in August, there was that possibility until we started to get this data. That last CPI really, when we couldn't put together 2 months back to back of low inflation, that really wrecked it. And so here we started to, I knew this play was coming, but it wasn't until this week that I had confirmation that we were definitely heading to our bear market, probably by November. Maybe sooner, maybe Monday morning. That's not out of the question, and I'm setting up for that. That's absolutely a possibility. This may have been it. This may have been the high. Shoulder, head, shoulder, down. That's a possibility. So where Bitcoin is heading is, it's likely, even if the market continues up, or you have some kind of move upwards, it's probably not going to make it back above this 22,000. It could head up to, if something really big pump came in, something like that, 24,000 would be the top heading into a bear market. I'm repeating myself because I'm trying to drill the concept home. Everyone has traded in a bull market, so they don't know what to do. They don't have the ideas. My mind works different. I understand that what goes up must come down, and that we are heading into a prolonged. So the question, should I pull my money out of crypto? Yes, you should get your money out of crypto if you only were betting that it was going to go up. That's not ever the way I trade. if you don't have patience, if you don't understand that things take time, the market, this year's market is historic in so many ways. I love trading it because I've learned more than you could ever learn. It's volumes and volumes of things that you can learn. So where's Bitcoin heading? The first move, once we break on the SPY, the first move will be down here to this 14,000. It will pause, and then it'll probably just dip off to 12. Okay, that will be your first leg down to short, big nasty short there, and it will consolidate between this 12 and 14 for some time, probably until 2023. It will stay in this range and might come up here and touch once in a while back up to that. But my point is if I short here, if I'm lucky enough to get a chance to short heavy here, then even when this breaks higher, this is all going to act as resistance. It's not, the price of Bitcoin's not going to make it back up. In a bear market, it's not going to make a higher high. It's going to make a lower high. That's a bear market. Lower, high, lower, high. So even if it bounces, it's only going to bounce up to here versus bouncing all the way back up here and or here. I hope that's making sense. So a heavy short at this point, because I have a confirmation, is what I'm planning. So the first leg down, and because people are like, is crypto going to zero? Some of these, definitely, and I'll get into that in a minute. But Bitcoin itself is not going to zero. And people talk about this conspiracy stuff and the reptilians. Who do you think made Bitcoin? Okay, another video for another day. Why do you think it's anonymous who made it? So Bitcoin will trade like this, and then eventually 2023, some real shit is going to hit the fan. You're going to have the energy crisis in Europe. Late winter energy crisis is going to start playing out. All of the inflation data, you'll have supply side inflation plus monetary inflation. They're not going to be able to control it. The market's going to take a drastic another step lower that no one can believe. It's gotten so dire and bleak. This is when people really think shit's hitting the fan, and Bitcoin will probably hit 7,000. That is where you should buy gold and silver. So a lot of people in 2020 were talking about buying gold, and they might have bought gold here April. No, it would have been this cycle, 2021, because the fear kicked in. This is the COVID crash. The fear kicked in. It corrected people who weren't trading at this point. The average person who was just like trying to be kind of savvy, this is where they bought gold in 2021, because they had the fear, and then they thought, well, the market's going to crash. They were late to the game on that. And so what happens is that in a bear market, you see how it trades sideways like this, and, blew out up here. That's great. Good. This is also the paper gold, but it gives you some idea. And now you can see that asset trades very similar to the market, and gold prices are coming down, 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 and they will continue down until the probably winter time, late winter. And the reason is because the fear that I'm talking about back here. Right now, people aren't afraid. Come winter time, when the recession really hits, and some of this stuff that people are really worried about, like keep the money in the bank, hits the mainstream after the market sold off, that's where you buy gold or silver. Because those assets depreciate. You can see silver is also down. A lot of people didn't think that would happen, right? But that's because all assets are down. So then right before the panic, that's when you get into the precious metals, those kinds of things. So that's some basics on what I see happening with Bitcoin, what I see happening with the macro economy. Do I think that there is a great reset underway? Absolutely. Do I think that we are heading towards I describe it as I can see a comet, like being scientists. So, like right now, when you guys look at this, it all seems like gobbledygook. This is like if you've studied if you've studied space, you're an astronomer, and you point out and you go, "Hey, look out there! There's a comet. It's heading towards Earth." And all the people look through the telescope, and it just looks like a fuzzy ball. It doesn't seem like it can do any damage, but the astronomer knows with the fuzzy ball how big it is. In this case, I'm the astronomer. I understand what all this means, and I understand that the market, the world economy, is in deep shit, and there's going to be a lot of pain. In Bitcoin, there's one last line, 3,118. Absolutely. So, do you want to be the person that takes advantage of the downfall? That's all this question is if you think that everything's going to collapse on the monetary side, do you want to take advantage of shorting? That's the idea here. Do you want to short the market on this idea? That's what it comes down to. That's what I'm explaining here. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to short, because now I have confirmation. I've been waiting for like 6 months for this confirmation. But now we have it. Anyway, I hope that's helpful, guys. On the long term, what's happening? Is there systemic risk with exchanges? Yes. So you don't want to keep large sums of money that you might need on an exchange, because when Bitcoin crashes like this, there's going to be systemic risk, meaning exchanges could just go out. But Binance, KuCoin, Coinbase should be pretty safe. Anyway, that's pretty much it. You know, I think that covers it. So, you know, should you pull your money out of crypto? Probably some of it. You know, you don't want too much in there. But that's up to your risk tolerance, because you do have the opportunity to make the money on the red candles. And if you believe it's going to collapse, why not capitalize on that collapse? That's my theory. I'm willing to put up my own money on that, and I will be. And so anyway, I hope it helps. All right, my friends, peace.